There it is. Yeah, I'd like to call to order this council meeting of the town of Santan Valley on March 18th, 2026 at 6:02 p.m. Can the clerk please take roll call?
Mayor Schneff,
Present.
Vice Mayor Hudgens,
Present.
Councilmember Hunt,
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins, Councilmember Oaks, Councilmember Tyler,
Present.
Councilmember Wolford.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to item number 3. We'll have our Pledge of Allegiance. I'll go ahead and start us off on that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're going to have an invocation. This will be given by Kenneth Diamond. He is a rural Metro Fire Chaplain. So Kenneth, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. If you would like, please bow your heads and pray. Oh God, we come before you with gratitude. We thank you for being a God of love who is with us now in this very room. You never leave us or forsake us. Your grace has brought us safe thus far, and your grace will lead us home, Lord. We thank you for making each of us in this room, every person we meet, every citizen of this town in your own image, with dignity and infinite worth. We thank you for the calling you have given every one of us to be good stewards of your creation, to love our neighbors as ourselves. I thank you tonight, God, for these, your servants, our mayor, our vice mayor, our town council, town manager, and town staff. I give thanks for the way of service they have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex human beings, carrying burdens, carrying joy and hope, trusting that you alone can hold us together, oh God, in your love and peace. Help us, Lord, to trust your move more than our fears and our wounds and ever our accomplishments. May we lean on your everlasting arms tonight. God, in your word, you make clear your expectations for those who sit in places of authority. We remember the Apostle Paul writing to the Christians in Rome and his teachings that those in authority are first and foremost your servants, that honoring you and doing your will is their highest purpose. So we pray that you would be glorified tonight through the decisions of this town council. We pray that we would have the eyes to see how our lives are all connected and how our common good is upheld. And when we listen and respond to those most vulnerable among us, we pray for wisdom, for strength, for courage to do what is right and good for all citizens. May we put the interest of others above our own. May we act with love for the common good. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person here. In the name of Jesus, whose perfect love sets us free from all of our fears. Amen.
Amen. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay, before we go to item number 4, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. We have microphones. So I just wanted to make that known. We want to thank our IT director for helping to facilitate that. Although we only have, 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Our mic, yeah, we will share, but that's a lot. We're making advancements in the town. So we appreciate your patience with us. Okay. We're gonna move on to item number 4. This is the mayor and council members may present a brief report on current events. It's informational item only. Council shall not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on the information presented. So we're gonna go down the line. We'll start with council member Oaks.
I don't have anything.
Okay, council member Jenkins.
I don't have anything.
Council member Hunt.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do have one item of business. I've mentioned this in the past with the Pinal County intern program for anybody who is high school or college age and they're looking for an intern option. If you go to the Pinal County website, they are accepting applications at this point. The interview process will be in April, but right now they're accepting applications for the next couple weeks, I believe. So if anybody's interested in that age group, I encourage you to apply.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Tyler.
Yeah, we this past week we were able to go down to the Lucid manufacturing facility down in Casa Grande. What a magnificent place. I mean, the things that they're doing, how many was almost 4 million square feet of manufacturing space there. So, big thank you for that, to be able to see what they do out there. A couple of things I took away from that, just the importance of how industry can really improve a town, and, how we can capitalize and bring those kind of benefits here. One of the things that really impressed me was how they worked with Central Arizona College, how they got a program together called Drive 48. If anyone's interested, go down to CAC and look at that. But basically, it's a program specifically designed to train you on becoming a car manufacturer, and specifically working for Lucid. So just a magnificent facility, and I hope we can start, developing and bringing those kind of opportunities here.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyler. Councilmember Wolford.
I have nothing.
Okay, Vice Mayor Hudgens.
I had the opportunity as well to go down to the Lucid Motors plant, and it was an incredible facility and level of accomplishment that they've done there. I think the thing that I took away with was our tour guide was telling us how the average salary in Casa Grande was at $65,000, and once Lucid came in, the average salary went up to $95,000 in Casa Grande, which just highlights the importance of bringing strategic economic development to an area like Santan Valley, where we don't have the same opportunities of employment. There are some opportunities for employment, but it's not high-paying jobs that's going to be able to provide for your family. And so I think getting to see Lucid was a powerful example of that.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I do have one item. I didn't get to go to the Lucid plant and see their spectacular building and operations, because I was able to see something even more spectacular. It was my 2 grandbabies that were recently born. So I missed it, but I hear we may have another opportunity in the future to go to Lucid for those who haven't been able to go. So that's good. I want to mention one more time. This will be the last time. I know Councilmember Wolford mentioned it last. I think it was him that mentioned it last meeting. It's the spring used book sale, March 21st. 2026 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. here at the Santan Valley Library. So 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., March 21st. Okay, that'll now move us to item number 5, Town Manager's Report. This will be a summary of current events. It's for information only. Council should not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on information presented. Brent.
Well, the good news is, Mayor and Town Council, I'm not putting the legislative report as part of the Town Manager's report, so it should be shorter. The bad news is we've agendized that separately. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. A number of things that I want to go over real quickly. The first portion of this are upcoming meetings that town staff and council will be participating in that are of importance to Santan Valley. The first one I have is there will be a special Pinal Regional Transportation Authority meeting tomorrow, hosted at Pinal County, and the town of Santan Valley will officially become a member, and our member will be the mayor. That meeting's tomorrow from 9 to 11:30. It's electronic only. They'll host it at the county offices, but it'll be electronic meeting. The second item is our third, I guess technically, IPAC meeting will be held next week on the 23rd from 2 to 4 p.m. in this room. So next week. The next one I have is the Pinal Partnership Emerging Leaders Summit is coming up on the 26th of this month from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And I believe that's being held at Schneff Farms. And I think we've got some folks attending that. The next one is Arizona at Work is holding a community meeting on the 27th of this month from 8:30 to 10 p.m. And I think we have a couple council members and staff people that are attending that. And that's for economic development and providing input. The ASU Decision Theater Workshop, which is an electronic workshop, it will be held on the 2nd of next month. And that will be 4 of our council members, as well as a number of leaders Rural Metro, Pinal County Sheriff's Office, local nonprofit leaders that were invited to attend and discuss transportation in Pinal County. I know I'll be attending that, and I think there's 4 council members attending that. Our council strategic planning session is planning on being held, subject to change, on the 3rd of next month from 9 to 3 p.m. The Santan Spring Festival is the same day, on the 3rd from 5:30 to 8. And I forgot which school that is at, but I believe it's on a school field. Combs. Powering Pinal County, which I just found out about yesterday, is a meeting that's being held by Pinal Partnership on the 24th of this month from 12 to 1:30. You have to go online, look up Powering Pinal County, and I believe there's an in-person option or an electronic option to that. It's to talk about solar and BESS development. BESS stands for Battery Energy Storage Systems. In terms of forthcoming items and important things with respect to Santan Valley, Town Council, we will be bringing forward the International Code Council codes for adoption. That's building code, plumbing code, National Electrical Code, fire code. Those will be coming before the council here in the near future. I had down here IT improvements for council meetings. The mayor already brought this up. Robert, please wave to everybody in the audience in case they don't know who you are. Robert worked very hard the last couple weeks to get microphones, and when we were in here testing it the other day, I was very excited to see the look on the council members' faces when we were able to bring microphones. You wonder why this is the number, because that's as many as the receiver will handle is this number. They actually have an extra microphone. I was looking for Connor. Oh, there he is in the back. There is another microphone. We can't use it because we don't have enough receiver slots for it. So thank you so much, Robert, for that. One of the questions that came from Call to the Public 2 meetings ago was requesting staff look into an emergency notification or reverse 911 type of system for Santan Valley. Robert has also been working on that, and we have the potential to bring an agreement forward to the council at one of our future meetings to join the PENS system. And the cost for that looks like it's going to be around $12,000 if that's something that the council would like to invest in, perhaps in next year's budget, so that people have access to an emergency notification system. Another request that we received is that the town create its own town website. Robert is also working on that. And what he asked me to do was ask the council and anybody in the audience and anybody watching in TV land tonight, if you have any photos of Santan Valley that could be useful on our page, so that we have some graphical representation of our community. We don't have anything like that. So if you want to send myself, Robert, Dana, photos from the community so we can incorporate that on the website, we would appreciate that. As everyone here knows, the town has initiated development impact fee study with a consultant named Tischler Bice. We are planning to have our first public hearing on the development impact fee study on June 3rd. So it's not scheduled yet, but that will be the public hearing. The first public hearing on the development impact fee study is June 3rd in this room. Zoning code update. We've also hired a consultant, Michael Baker International, to write our first zoning code. The meeting dates for the public meetings have been scheduled. That will be Monday, March 30th, Tuesday, April 21st, and Tuesday, May 12th, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in this room. So there's a lot going on at the town, and that requires, and we want to make sure we have a lot of public involvement. So I'm trying to get that information out. The last thing that I have for you is part of the manager's report. The mayor asked me to mention to everybody that Schneff Road, just north of here, is now open. The barricades are down, so you can now drive through to the north. That's all I have.
You better turn on my mic. I got to get used to this. This is all new. Okay, so this will move us to item number 6. This is our consent agenda. Items listed on the consent agenda may be approved by one motion and one vote. Any council member may remove an item from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration. Council. Any discussion, any item that needs to be removed for separate discussion, or do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda. Sorry, what? A and B.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items number A and B. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any discussion at all before we make our vote? Okay, hearing none. All in favor to approve our consent agenda items A and B, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion carries. Those consent agenda items are approved. Okay, we'll now go to item number 7. This is our action agenda. We'll go to item number A, resolution number 2026-11. This is the supplemental retirement plan and participation in the Arizona State Retirement System, or acronym ASRS. Presentation, discussion, and possible action to establish a supplemental retirement system, opt out of Section 218 Social Security Agreement, and approve participation in the Arizona State Retirement System. We will have a presentation by Jennifer Gomez with ASRS. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
You bet.
Okay, so let's get started. Thank you so much for having me today. So my name is Jennifer Gomez. I'm a program manager of the Employer Relations and Contribution Accounting team of the Arizona State Retirement System. I've been there since 2014. And the team invited me to give a short presentation about the ASRS benefits and kind of like what that means for the town if they decided to join the Arizona State Retirement System. I was also talking with some of you earlier, and if there is a specific questions, we can have the member education team come to present to the potential members. That way they get all their questions answered. But today, just an overview. So the Arizona State Retirement System was created in 1953. It was created as a retention and attraction tool for state employees. We are a 401A defined benefit plan, which is very different than a 401k. And I'm going to explain a little bit of that. Different doesn't necessarily mean bad, which is something that I like to highlight when I'm presenting. So we're founded in 1953. We have a little bit under 700 employers across the state of Arizona, 111 state agencies, the 3 state universities, ASU, U of A, and NAU. We have 81 cities and towns, 12 community college, 255 public schools, 119 charter schools, and we have some fire, water districts, and 15 counties. Our board is approved by the governor and the state senate. We have members of the public, we have retirees, state employees, and educators, as majority of our employers are educational. And then our ASRS executive team, we need to update that picture because somebody just retired, but there's our director, Paul Matson, our COO and our CFO, and our chiefs. We are regulated by the Title 26 of the Revenue Code, the Title 38 of the Arizona Revised Statute, of course, the United States Constitution, and the Arizona Administrative Code. So we put this slide together because we thought it was important to show in a quick snapshot what are the benefits of being part of ASRS. So the number one benefit is a pension for your lifetime. And when I talk a little bit about the 401k and 401a, the differences are going to be more clear. But basically, a 401k provides a benefit for as long the balance provides. So once that balance that you put in, your employer put in, and the interest is exhausted, your pension stops. With a 401a benefit, we don't use the balance to calculate your benefit. We use a formula that is based on your years of service, an average monthly compensation, and a multiplier that allow us to provide and guarantee a lifetime benefit for the rest of the retiree's life, and the option that they can name a primary beneficiary that will continue receiving a percentage of that benefit for the rest of that beneficiary life upon the member's death. It's a pension that is secure, so different than 401ks and other plans out there, they are subject to market changes, and we know how that's been in the last few years. So it's not impacted. We have a trust fund, and that's where all our retirees are drawing their retirement. We do offer medical and dental plans. We partner with health insurance and dental vendors to provide competitive plans for our membership. Majority of our membership, when they retire, they are Medicare eligible, so we are very able to provide very competitive plans for that. But that doesn't mean that there is no plans available for members that are at the age of 65. If you have more than 5 years of service at the time of retirement, we provide a subsidy to offset your health insurance. As we know, health insurance costs are significantly, especially for our retirees that live in a fixed income. So there is a subsidy available to help them to offset that health insurance cost. If they have their health insurance through ASRS, through their employer. So if somebody were to retire from the town of Santan Valley, and Santan Valley would offer them to continue their health insurance for what is commonly known as the COBRA plan for 18 months, the Arizona State Retirement System will be able to provide that subsidy to offset that premium for at least 18 months. Long-term disability is a great benefit that all retirees contribute, all the members contribute to. So if you wouldn't need it, you can get 66% of your salary while you are considered disabled. The survivor benefits, if you change employers, so I heard you talking about the county, heard you talking about the college, all of them contribute to the Arizona State Retirement System. So if employees of the town wouldn't move to any of those state employees, basically your ASRS just continue growing, continue adding years of service. So we have, there is a lot of flexibility in the state of Arizona. It's a pre-tax plan, of course, so it will definitely reduce your income, your taxable income. And majority of the employers, not all, but majority do contribute to the 218 Social Security. So I really wanted to show this comparison because I think it's important that majority of the population is used to 401ks, 457s, or IRA. So like I say, they are different. We are very different, but that doesn't mean bad. So the ASRS participation is mandatory for all the state or public employees that meet membership eligibility. Membership eligibility is defined by statute with working at least 20 hours a week for at least 20 weeks in a fiscal year. So anybody that meet that criteria, their participation will be mandatory. The ASRS determine the contribution rate at the end of every calendar year by the board. For next year is going to be 11.98, and there is 100% matching from the employer. So once an employee joins and the employer matches 100% of whatever the member contributes, which I think is a great benefit. We do have an investment management team. So versus 401ks where you can choose how to invest and how risky or conservative you want to be, we do have an investment team. So there is not that much flexibility. However, we guaranteed a lifetime benefit versus a 401k or any other plan will guarantee you a benefit based on the account balance. So that's one of the biggest benefits. Loans or withdrawals are not permitted in the 401a plan because it's a state plan versus 401ks usually are loans allowed, but it does really provide a very robust benefit for your employees. Again, we have like 700 employers. I think I'm working on like 10 new inquiries currently. We have some charters. We have the town of Santan Valley, Bullhead City. We have a few employers joining, but it is something that really attracts new employees. And we just wanted to make sure that we see it as a good benefit. There is different retirement criteria, and they are also different based on their membership date. As you guys already have employers that contribute to ASRS, we will probably want to look at the new membership because some of them already probably have an ASRS account. We just need to add the town of Santa Valley on top of it. So this is just an example of a pension calculation. So if somebody has 21 years of service and they make an average of $2,800 a month, we multiply it by the graded multiplier, and then their monthly pension for the rest of their life will be $1,264. This is a very long presentation, so I just wanted to be available for any questions, concerns that you guys might have. There is the supplemental saving plans as well through the Nationwide. They are our administrator for all the supplemental plans for the state of Arizona employees. And as the town of Santan Valley joined ASRS, if they want to participate in an additional plan of retirement, that's an option that they definitely have. But yeah, we are very excited when the town of Santan Valley reached out to us. I know they are probably talking about the 218 agreement a little bit later. There is some exclusions, so there is people that can be excluded from membership. The number one is the 65 plus. So if there is some person that never been a member of the Arizona State Retirement System and they are 65 years or older, they can choose to not contribute to the ASRS if they want to. That's one of the exclusions that we have. There is certain visas that are defined by status that unfortunately are not eligible for membership because of FICA purposes. But for the most part, if you are a direct hire and you work more than 20 hours a week for 20 weeks in a fiscal year, you will be part of the Arizona State Retirement System. Let's see. We are working on a lot of education. Like I say, that's what I offered the member education team to come down and do a presentation, more detail about the benefits. But I just have to tell you guys that been working in ASRS for so many years, even if you choose not to join ASRS, I just will encourage the town to really, really consider a retirement plan. The population is aging, and we are seeing that not a lot of people has put money aside for retirement. And you know, you get elder, you get sick, or you just get tired of working. So it is important that we put that money in the side. But the Arizona State Retirement System is definitely a plan that will provide customer service, that will provide, we have people answering messages until midnight, Monday to Friday. We have people working on weekends because we all know that in today's world, people want to know what's going on with their money at any time. So we are definitely encouraging and creating a lot of tools for our employers. So you will have a secure account that you can reach out to us at any time. But yeah, that's all I have for today. I'm very excited again and just looking forward to working with all of you. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Okay, let's go with Councilmember Hunt first.
Hi. Question on the, so the contribution right now is 12%. And then starting July 1st, it goes to 11.98.
11.98.
Okay. And you said it's a mandatory for all employees. So new hires would come on and they would be enrolled automatically. in there. Unless they're 65 or older, then they can opt out within the
Correct.
first 30 days. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. The employer match, the 100% employer match. So that would be something that we would budget and we'd contribute along with the payroll, the employee
Correct.
deductions.
So the employer, so we receive the contributions into buckets, the member and the employer. So the employee literally can see how much has been put in the account from each of the buckets.
Okay. And then if the employee per se leaves prior to retirement,
Mhm.
what happens to the employer contribution portion of that? Is that reimbursed? What happens to
That's a
that?
great question. So prior to 2011, if the members would have refunded, that's what we call it, refund or a withdraw the account, which is closing the account and ending their membership. So they are not eligible for any future benefits. They were eligible to pull 100% of whatever they put into the account, all the interest that has been earned, and a portion of whatever the employer put based on the years of service. Past 2011, if you were to refund your account, you're only eligible for whatever you put and the interest. Everything else goes to the trust fund. So that it will not be no refund for the
No
employer.
refunds for the town. Okay.
Correct.
Wanted just to clarify that one. That's all the question I have at this point.
Yeah, and I believe that what happened in 2011 is that they saw a huge increase on, it was after kind of like when people were recovering a little bit from the recession, but there were a lot of people pulling their money out, and it is their money, but it was never intended to be a refund. And there is 20% federal taxes that get taken up front, 5% for state taxes. So my understanding is that the governor really wanted to discourage people as much as possible to refund it, because if you think about it and you do not refund, but you wait and then withdraw that money at the time of retirement, you're definitely going to get a way bigger benefit than you just would have pulled it sooner.
Thank you.
No problem.
Other questions?
Yeah, I know it's just employees of towns and cities, but do council members also participate in this in any state, anywhere in the state?
If they are direct hires of the town, I will say yes, but that's probably something that we have to look.
So there's a separate retirement
okay.
here in the state for elected officials.
Elected officials.
And it's part of the PRS
Yeah.
system, the same as the cops are and fire are part of. So elected officials are part of that based on whatever the salary is that you collect.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
called-
different pot.
It's called EORP, but my understanding is that they haven't taken any new members in a few years. So what happened is, depending of the membership, the member status, then it will contribute to one retirement plan instead of the other. So, but we can definitely do that research and help you guys navigate that, which one it is. So public safety, just to mention, the public safety retirement system is the state retirement for police officers, firefighters, and all that population. But then embedded there somewhere, there is EORP and CORP, which is elected officials retirement plan.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, because if you're elected official only for a short time, how does that work and what's the
Mhm.
benefit to it?
Yes.
Probably not a lot there in the end.
There's
If
not a
you're
lot
there for a
there,
short-
and the way that it typically works is, in order to be vested, you have to do more than one term.
Yeah, okay. Probably look at a 401k or something besides that. Any other questions from the council? This was kind of a broad overview.
Yes, that was a very broad overview. If there is a need for something more specific, to look at membership, to something more specific, just let us know. We'll be
And you
more
said
than
you
happy.
could have somebody come back and discuss something more in detail.
Of course.
to
of
us,
course.
as we
Especially
need.
if we have maybe like a list of prospect, we can start doing a lot of research and giving you guys some very good data about kind of like what kind of membership you're looking at. But yes, no, anything that you guys need, just let us know. We're here to support you in any way we can. It's a very important decision, so we know that you need to make a educated decision, but we'll be more than happy to help.
Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you, Jennifer
Well,
Gomez.
thank you so
Thanks for
much.
being here.
Going to make my way back to Phoenix, but if you
Okay.
guys need me, let me know.
Yeah, good luck. There's no traffic in Santan Valley. Okay, I just wanted to make that clear. Okay, we're going to go to item 7B. This is resolution number 2026-12, participation in the National Flood Insurance Program.
Mayor, before we move to item
Oh.
B, the A is actually slated as an action item
Oh, yes.
with an associated resolution.
Thank you, Alan. That is correct. We do need to proceed with either further discussion on item number A or questions or a move to a vote.
I have a question. As we're moving in, do we need to have our budget first approved since we're doing 100% contribution to ASRS? Do we need to first have a budget approved for that?
I'll give it a first shot. It's incredibly important that we join ASRS. We will budget for it as part of, we've already included some money in the tentative budget, which you'll take back for the next meeting to join and start. Our intent is to bring our employees on in the month of May, and we need to have retirement and benefits taken care of, and it takes a little while to set it up. So we're asking for approval to join ASRS tonight so we can do the paperwork and join so that we can bring the employees on in May. And we'll be following that up with benefits in terms of medical, dental, and those types of things at a future meeting.
That's the May to go from the ESI contracts to the actual vested
Yes.
employees. Okay.
Yes.
Does that answer your question? Does Gabe have any further? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council? Okay. Do we have a motion? Or do,
Valley to establish a supplemental retirement plan administered by the Arizona State Retirement System and authorize the designated authorized agent to execute the agreement and related documents. Oh, I think.
So used to not having one.
I know.
there's a learning curve here for all of us.
Sorry.
Okay, was that appropriate? Did we hear that? Okay. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and just to reiterate that this is, needs to be put in action for time constraints that we have trying to get to May. So, we have a motion and a second on resolution number 2026-11. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Now we will go to item number B that I was so eagerly to get to. This is a resolution number 2026-12, participation in the National Flood Insurance Program, discussion and possible action authorizing the town of Santan Valley to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program and authorizing the town manager to fulfill the administrative responsibilities required under the program. Brent, take it away.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So these next two items are not the same thing, but they are the same thing. We have to do two different things in order to be able to apply to the NFIP through FEMA, the National Flood Insurance Program. The first item on the agenda tonight, they're both covered in the same slide presentation. The first item is a notice of intent, which we have to post, and the application itself to join the NFIP. The second one is actually the floodplain ordinance that we have to file with the state and through the NFIP for floodplain management with respect to the town. And that document itself defers floodplain management to the county, specifically the county flood control district, which if you've checked your property taxes recently is one of the items on your property taxes that you pay for. It's a district for the entire county. There are other flood districts as well, but its whole intent is to do floodplain management for communities that choose not to do their own floodplain management, including all the record keeping and requirements associated with that. Chris is actually here tonight. which is lovely because almost every town you administer for except for Maricopa, Casa Grande, and there's one more, right? Apache Junction. So the county administers for everybody except for those three. Flooding in America. So the whole reason for this presentation is to talk about the important topic of flooding, and we do have a floodplain in Santan Valley, and you heard some about that from Josh Plum at the last meeting. It's the most common natural disaster in the United States. I think we all watch the news and understand that everywhere, somewhere in this country is being flooded, and it puts people in a very difficult situation. So for many years, the federal government has become involved to try and help not only with flood mitigation prior to an event or helping people after an event, but also to put in place regulations that protect people. And then lastly, a method for to obtain flood insurance at a lower cost than you'd be able to acquire from your insurance company to protect your property. This is a very interesting map from FEMA, and it talks about projected flood risk. And if you look closely at this map, Pinal County's there. And Pinal County is in the light blue. We are in an area of known flood risk. And ours is not only riverine flood, which the county has seen a lot of problems with riverine flood, especially in 1983 and 1993 floods, which washed out all the bridges in this part of Arizona, except for the bridge in Florence that crosses the river. Attaway Bridge, I don't know if you know this, but in 93 that washed away and had to be rebuilt, the Attaway Bridge that's over the river. But also we have tremendous problems in Pinal County with sheet flooding as well, which is when you get massive amounts of rain, it flows across the ground. It can also do damage, and as flat as we are, sheet flooding is an issue in this county, in Maricopa County, Pima County as well. If you've been out and about, you'll notice big flood control structures that are out in the desert. Most of them are owned and maintained by the Maricopa County Flood Control District, even though they're in Pinal County, and that's to protect the cities in the East Valley. There's giant flood dam just to the south of here, if you're familiar. What is the NFIP? So the NFIP was created by the federal government in 1968 to mitigate for flood losses. A lot of the onus behind that was flooding in the Mississippi River, the Snake River, some of those areas that feed those gigantic watersheds, where it was not uncommon on an annual basis for parts of those riverine areas to flood every year. And people ended up in a situation where they lost a house they'd rebuilt. 5 years later, they'd lose a house again. So one of the reasons for these programs was to not allow development in areas that were prone to flooding. At our last meeting, we had a conversation about a 100-year event. And I don't remember which one of the council members, but you said, I wish you could call it a different name other than a 100-year event. They do that to try and create something that lay people can understand. But really what a 100-year floodplain is a 1% chance annually of flooding and flood damage. The NFIP was created to assist with that. What is it? It's the ability to educate property owners, provide flood insurance, help with recovery from flood damage, mitigate for losses, and reduce personal and national costs for emergencies. One of the important parts of the NFIP is actually how we regulate floodplains in this country. There are 3 different levels of government shown here in terms of what are the roles and responsibilities. Federal, they administer it, they fund it. They also fund through FEMA mapping. So if you're trying to determine those areas that have a 1% chance annually of flooding, FEMA is the one that provides those maps. They're available on FEMA's website, but you can also get them on Pinal County, Arizona Department of Water Resources. There's links to those maps. In the state of Arizona, the NFIP programs and oversight for floodplain management are handled by the Arizona Department of Water Resources. So as part of the documents that you see here, I had to prepare these documents. I had to have them reviewed by Chris and his team at Pinal County, as well as by the state, to make sure that what we were providing, what I was providing to you tonight, is up to the state and national standards in terms of management. And on the local side, most importantly, what does this mean? Floodplains have an impact on land use planning, on permitting for new buildings. You have to have regulations in place that meet the state and federal standards so that people can have flood insurance. I think that's probably one of the main takeaways that I'd like everybody to go away from in the audience tonight is probably thinking, why do we want to belong to the National Flood Insurance Program? Because we don't flood. Well, the important thing to know here is if we're not a member, people can't get flood insurance. And that's a real detraction. But there are other benefits as well. If we're a member, it actually makes people's home insurance cheaper if we're part of the NFIP and people have the ability to purchase flood insurance. You don't have to be in a floodplain to purchase flood insurance. I've told all of my relatives, it's really cheap to get flood insurance under the NFIP if you're not in a floodplain. You don't know how many people that I know have had flood damage in their homes and they're nowhere near a 100-year floodplain. So it's a good investment in my case, my house is my retirement. It's my primary investment besides ASRS. So thank you very much for that. What else does the local government do? There's certain expectations on how you can provide permits and the engineering documentation necessary to prove that there's not going to be future flood damage, as well as maintaining records that are required under the NFIP that must be held by your government entity, and they are audited about every 5 years. Floodplain management standards, the minimum standards in terms of our floodplain ordinance, but also the NFIP for what you need to do. Structures built that meet or exceed the standards that we're adopting tonight are 65% a better chance of not being damaged by flood. And it saves the state, local entity, the federal government, and individual homeowners billions of dollars on an annual basis. One of the things that's really scary is the graphic on the right, and I think we all understand this when we all watch the news, is this is looking from 1980 to 2020, but the losses and the damage from flooding in the United States have exponentially gone up. Climate change and other things are to blame for that. If you purchase a flood insurance policy, if you choose to do that, it will cover the building and the foundation, carpet, air conditioners, your furnaces, ranges, stoves, electrical systems, refrigerators, and water heaters in your house, the very expensive items. In terms of contents, as part of your policy, there's other things of value, furniture, electronics, artwork, et cetera, that are also covered under the contents policy. What's not covered, temporary housing during repairs. It's not going to pay for you to rent an apartment while your house is being fixed. Any property that's outside of the building itself, the structure itself. Financial caused by loss of business due to a business interruption if you have to shut down your business. Any currency, precious metals, stocks, valuables, cars and vehicles are not covered, and anything in a basement. Anything that's below grade, they're not going to cover. If you want to buy flood insurance after we adopt and become part of the program, you don't call Chris or you don't call me and you don't call FEMA. You actually purchase it. There's a program through your insurance agents. So if you're with American Family, you can go to your American Family agent and say, hey, I want to get flood insurance for my property, and they'll help you. You can go to FEMA, but I wouldn't recommend it in what's called the NFIP Direct program. What I was told prior to this presentation is a lot of those folks are no longer employed with the cutback at the federal level. So you probably won't have a lot of luck going directly to the federal government to buy flood insurance.
Brent, question.
Yes.
So you go to your insurance company, right? You say, I want flood insurance. They'll know that you live in Santan Valley and they're a member.
Well, they will know your address. They will know if you're in a flood hazard area or not. They'll know the risk profile for here, and then it's a simple table. They go and look at the table, and it's a set rate.
Because you were saying it'd be a reduced rate as opposed to you going
Oh
on
yeah,
yourself
way cheaper.
by
'Cause
the
it's
town
federally
being
subsidized.
part of it.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
There's a lot of different places if you want to get educated on the NFIP that you can go and check out. I would recommend going on the FEMA website. They have all kinds of information on the FEMA website and the NFIP website to learn about the program itself. There is a big difference between the National Flood Insurance Program and national and federal disaster assistance. Federal disaster assistance is what you hear about after a hurricane, a large flood event like the stuff that happened in Texas last year. That's completely separate from the insurance program. That is not guaranteed money. It requires, if it was in Santan Valley, the mayor would have to do a declaration of emergency. The governor would have to do a declaration of emergency, and the federal government have to do a declaration of emergency in order to clear funding to use for that. Globe's a good example. They had the big floods in Globe, Miami last year. They were able to receive federal funding. As a matter of fact, my mom lives in Globe. They're going through the mitigation process to gain federal funds. It's not instantaneous. It takes years, and it takes a lot of things to align. One of the things that I learned in Maricopa years ago, and Chris was doing flood control at that time with Pinal County, is you also have to do everything right from the local level. You have to document every loss. You have to document every man hour spent out there. You have to documentation. Then you turn that all in. The funding that you receive is only as good as the documentation that you put together based on the program and the ability to utilize those funds after a disaster. Overcoming common flood insurance misconception. I have a homeowners or rental policy on my property, so I'm covered. No, your homeowners policies don't cover you for flooding. If my property's hit by a flood, disaster assistance will bail me out. I just explained why I wouldn't plan on that because a lot of things have to go right and a lot of people have to do their jobs in order to qualify for those funds. My house is on a hill. Water drains away from it. I'm safe. Anywhere it rains, it can flood. It may be worse if you're on a hillside and the water's coming down at you. We all see the mudslides and the floods that occur in California on houses that are elevated. My area is never flooded, so I've got history on my side. I can't tell you how many times I've been told that. Anywhere at any time right now, with the changes in weather, you could be subject to a flood. There was a flood in my neighborhood 20 years ago, and I live in a 100-year floodplain, so there's nothing going to happen in my lifetime because, do a little math there. I've got 80 years. I'm not going to have a flood. Well, as Councilmember Wolfert pointed out, that's a misconception based on them calling it a 100-year floodplain. 1% chance per year. That's my presentation. So the first item is the notice of intent we'll have to publish and the application that we'll send to FEMA and ADO, Arizona Department of Water Resources. So I need you to approve that so we can actually make the application. The second item on the agenda is the actual floodplain ordinance itself, where we cooperate with Pinal County and they serve as our floodplain administrator. I'm a certified floodplain manager. Chris is also a certified floodplain manager. So we're covered in terms of compliance.
So basically, Brent went over the presentation for both item B and C. But we'll need two separate motions for each one. So is there any other questions or comments? Yeah, Councilmember Jenkins.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So you mentioned that there's 3 entities that do not use Pinal County as an administrator. Why is that, and what's the difference?
They want control over their own floodplain.
Mhm.
They want to control their own records. They probably have various reasons for that. I will tell you that Casa Grande has been that way for a long time. I don't know about Apache Junction, but when I was in Maricopa, I was the floodplain administrator, but all the record keeping and the mapping updates, although we hired consultants and we did remaps and studies through FEMA, our applications and everything went through Pinal County, and it gave me a peace of mind to know that the flood control district, which is funded by the taxpayers, was making sure that all the T's were crossed and I's were dotted, because there's actually a lot to it. Elevation certificates, permitting, all the records associated with permits that have been issued. One of the things that Josh talked about last time, I don't know if it was clear, but this new flood study that's being done here regionally could change the floodplains. And I think it's highly likely it will. That's overseen by the county staff and their engineering professionals to assist. I will tell you, I sat in a meeting last week. As a matter of fact, I invited Chris to it. There's another flood study that's going on our boundary that's called the Mesa Queen Creek. I forgot the acronym, Chris. Mesa Queen Creek. Yep. Area Drainage Master Plan. It's going on at the same time. We just had the kickoff meeting last week. So not only is the Pinal study being done that Josh presented, there's another one, and it does encompass all of northern Santan Valley. It gives us an extension of our staff of professionals who this is what they do. Josh that was here at the last meeting, this is what he does. He doesn't design roads, and he's not involved in maintenance projects. He does flood control, and a good group.
So what I'm hearing is because of those studies, this is intertwined to what we're doing here today.
Yes.
To try to help mitigate any future problems that we might have in our town based on a flooding of 1% each year. It will happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when. So this is
And
why
if we
we're
belong
looking.
and have a floodplain ordinance, that open us up for funds for future mitigation projects potentially.
Sorry, Councilmember Jenkins, I kind of jumped in there. Did you have another question? Okay. Vice Mayor?
Mayor? Thank you. I think last year showed us that flooding happens where there's some rain and damage on properties here in Santan Valley. And we also had the U.S. Small Business Administration, as we talked about, come and present. I'd requested that to be added on our resources page, and I'd like to still get that added if that's possible. Robert, when we're doing the website, it'd be great to have a flooding page, because given the reality, I think at our last meeting we saw there's high level chances of really bad flooding in this area if we were to get hit hard. So I think a page dedicated fully to that kind of lays out some of these things, and as well as the route to go get that insurance and why it would be helpful. I think bringing that awareness to our community would be really important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Councilmember Wolford.
Just real quick, Brent. So I already subscribed to the National Flood Insurance Program. So it was allowed while we were still in an unincorporated status. So is the assumption being that once it is handed over, those benefits of being in that program, those would disappear? So for those who are current subscribers, then
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine?
Because we'll be part of the program now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But it wouldn't have transferred over as I understand it.
Perfect.
So we have to be a member.
So then for current subscribers, again, we probably want to do our due diligence to ensure that they have continuity of coverage.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Good. Go ahead.
What is the cost for Santan Valley to participate in this insurance fund?
Zero.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm that.
Wow, that's a lot.
Just
our staff time. Just our staff time and coordination.
Yeah, and I'm just from personal experience. I mean, you're talking about $200, depending on the size of your home, a year for about $20,000 worth of coverage. So
But if he gets remapped and he's in the floodplain, it's a whole lot more expensive. I
Yeah.
don't remember what it is, but it's more than 10 times as expensive. If you have it, so very smart of you, council member, and then your property got remapped and put in a floodplain, you get to keep your same rate.
there you go.
If your neighbor wants to join, they're going to pay more than 10 times for the flood insurance.
And what we're hearing from these previous presentation that we have from the county is they're probably, if it's adopted, there's going to be some homes that are going to be in that floodplain, and that's going to affect them pretty heavily. So, okay. Any other questions? Any other questions or comments? Okay, as I said before, Brent did do presentations for item number B and C, but we will need either further discussion or a motion. We'll have to take items B and C independent of each other on a motion.
All right, Mayor, I move to approve the resolution number 2026-12, authorizing the town of Santan Valley to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program and authorizing the town manager to fulfill the administrative responsibilities required under the program.
Okay, is there a motion? Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second from Councilmember Jenkins. All in favor of this resolution, number 2026-12, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Item number B carries. This will take us to item number C. Is there any discussion or a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 2026-01, adopting by reference the flood insurance study, flood insurance rate maps, and the Pinal County Floodplain Management Ordinance to maintain the town of Santan Valley's participation in the National Flood Insurance Program.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. I have a question real quick to Brent. This item number C, is that also the big price tag of zero?
Yes.
Okay,
Assuming that the county told me correctly,
okay,
because your taxes are already paying for the Pinal County Flood Control District.
okay. I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay, we have a motion and a second for ordinance number 2026-01. All in favor of this ordinance, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. This item number 7 carries. Okay, great. Thank you, Brent, for your presentation. We will now go on to, don't go anywhere. We'll go to item number D. This is a ESI employee cost agreement for Public Works Director. Possible action to approve an employee cost agreement with ESI for the position of Public Works Director. Council action will follow. I remember that one, Alan. Okay, Brent. Do you have any comments?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, it's with great pleasure that I introduce Mr. Chris Wanamaker, PE, and his lovely family, his lovely wife. We went through the process of a recruitment. We received a number of applications, held interviews with the panel. Chris was selected as our overwhelming number one applicant with respect to the job. I can say with absolute confidence that there is no one who knows more about Santan Valley than Chris Wanamaker.
Even you?
Oh, he knows more than me.
Okay.
Chris has worked for Pinal County for more than 20 years. He's been involved in every floodplain project, every traffic signal, every road project, every widening project, every maintenance project in Santan Valley and the remainder of the county. One of the smartest people I know. And if you haven't had the opportunity to meet him, absolutely wonderful human being as well. So do you have a few words to say, or do you want to vote first?
Well, we should probably go to a vote first and then we'll have any comments, but this is a unique experience that we've had someone who worked with the county come before us, and now the potential opportunity to have somebody as a potential future member, employee. Okay, is there any comments or questions for item number D? Is there a motion? Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? I think we have a second from Councilmember Hunt. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Welcome to the team.
Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here and to be part of this community and this organization. And, thank you, Brent, for your kind words. And I worked with him and many of the people here in the audience for years. And this is it's so exciting to be here to help build the future of this community, to be part of something truly historic. And I just Thank you so much. So happy to be here and happy to be part of carrying out your vision and what the citizens are looking for. And we got some big challenges. Traffic, transportation, it's going to be tough, but I'm ready for the challenge. So
I
thank
think
you.
that was a shout out to Brent that if you want to talk to somebody about traffic. Well, Chris, employee number 8, we appreciate you. Welcome to the team, and let's we get the council to come in front with Chris, and we'll get a photo op. And if your family would like to get one after we get one with the council, that'd be great. Okay, let's well, welcome. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being here and accepting. Now we'll go on to item number 8. These are presentations and discussion items. Item number 8A, legislative update from the town manager. This will be a presentation. The town manager will provide an update on legislative matters affecting the town and discussion and relevant developments during the current legislative session. Council discussion may follow, but no action will be taken. I had also asked that this one be separated out of the town manager's report so that if we could have a discussion on some of these legislation bills that are potentially out there that could affect us. And if we had any questions or comments that we would be able to have a dialogue. So Brent.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Just for the audience, I do at least one legislative report every week, sometimes 2. And I've been given verbal reports at the meeting. So along with separating this item out, I've also taken my weekly legislative report and put that in the packet. So if you wanted to go on the website and look at my scribblings, the scribblings of a madman, it's up there. I want to start today by giving special thanks. I talk about these bills every other week. We have discussions and the council assists on a weekly basis, emailing and contacting our representatives in the legislature. And I want to say thank you for all the support that council's provided me. And it's great every time I send out an email and say, this is an emergency, there's a hearing today. 2 or 3 of the council members immediately reach out and say, who do you want me to send something to? And give me some talking points. So I wanted to say thank you for that. The second thing is I want to provide special thanks to Senator TJ Shope. As we've been going through this long legislative process this year, some of these bills, as I mentioned before, we're at the period now, as a matter of fact, this is the last week, where House bills change to the Senate bills go over to the House, crossover. They say crossover week, but it takes 3 weeks. Some of these are starting to get kind of scary. And so Gabe and I were able to schedule a meeting on Monday. 2 of them, actually. We went and met with the league Monday morning, and then we were part of the league call on Monday, legislative call. And then secondarily, we were able to have a meeting with Senator Shope. I hope that most people in the room know Senator Shope. He used to represent this area when they redistricted. He no longer represents the area, but he's a longtime Pinal County resident, born and raised, Coolidge, Arizona. And I've known him since he was a kid. And his dad used to own the IGA grocery store in Coolidge. But it's been a long relationship. He gave us an hour and a half of his time to sit down and talk about Santan Valley and our concerns on bills. He listened. He exchanged with us. He made us feel better about some things and some of these bills because he has intimate knowledge of which ones are likely to die and which ones have legs. And it was a very useful conversation. The two bills that I want to discuss this evening that I've been most concerned with are House Bill 2273. It's one of the 4 bills that came forward in the legislature this year for rebating of the taxes collected as part of the Pinal County excise tax that was deemed illegal 3 years ago, and what to do with those funds. The other 3 bills have gone down in flames. This is the last one. And this is the bill that, as written last week when I sent out my report, would have been essentially a check around $300 that would go to all verified taxpayers that lived in Pinal County when those collections occurred 3 years ago. It has now changed because the Department of Revenue said, we aren't going to do that research and cut checks. But what we could do is when folks file their tax statements for next fiscal year, we could give a $300 rebate for all those people that are verified during that time. When we met with Senator Shope, he was straight with us, and he said, listen, and by the way, he's a Speaker Pro Tem in the Senate. So he's the President Pro Tem of the Senate. So he's the 3rd most powerful person in the Senate. And he's part of the majority. He said, look, those funds were collected for transportation projects in Pinal County. They need to go towards transportation projects in Pinal County, and I will fight for that. And that was a wonderful conversation to have. Furthermore, there was a hearing that was held yesterday that was kind of a surprise to everyone. It just shot up the calendar for a 3rd read in the House. And I don't know if it had anything to do with our conversation. I hope it did. But Senator Shope actually went over to the House and testified in the hearing. So special thanks to TJ for that, who's a friend to all of us. The other bill that I'd like to talk about a little bit is the Olson Bill 4030.
Yeah.
And that's the bill that prohibits counties, municipalities from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2030 from increasing any fees, taxes, surcharges, utility rates, other than what was authorized in the 2025-2026 budget. This would be crippling for Santan Valley because we don't have a 2025-26 budget. We don't have rates. We don't have taxes. We don't have any of those things. So essentially, we wouldn't be able to obtain any funding for our services until 2030. Totally cripple us. Had a great conversation with TJ with respect to that. And I'm happy to report that there was an amendment done to this bill that has a specific language that was added for Santan Valley due to our concerns that essentially says, with the exception of any city incorporated within the last 3 years. That's the good news. The bad news is if the bill gets approved, we get one bite at the apple.
Yeah, with our
When we
rates.
pass our TPT, when we pass
We're
our
stuck.
fee studies, we're done. You get one shot. So we better do it right, and we better do our forecasting
Until
for our budget right.
2030.
Until 2030.
Yeah.
So if that passes, it's a scary thing, but it's less scary today than it was a
Yes.
week ago. So those were my updates for today, unless you had any questions.
I do have a question. Well, council, do you have any questions regarding the House bills?
I just have one House bill. I wanted to see if you can put on your radar, House Bill 2939. It's a tax credit for companies that invest in areas like us, rural Arizona. I believe it's a 20% payback. They brought this up while we we're at the Lucid tour. I think that bill would be something that would be pretty key for us out here to lure people out here to invest in the area. So, just kind of put that on our radar and see if we can really push that bill forward, because that would really help us out here.
We are familiar with the bill, and it's a bill that's supported by the league.
Yeah.
So
Thank
I'll make sure we get that on the report.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the
One quick
council?
Question for you, Brent.
Yes, sir.
So obviously, fuel, gas prices. I know you put an update here about the motor fuel tax holiday. What does it mean now that we seem to be swept by the events of late? Is that going to be reintroduced? Have a second look? Could it
That's
jump to the top?
always a risk. It's dead as of now, but there's this dirty little trick that exists in the legislature called a striker bill. So you could have had a bill that had to do with childcare, and then one day it has to do with childcare, and the next day there's a striker and it has to do with the motor fuel tax holiday. So we'll just keep our ear to the ground. If something comes up, we'll let you guys know. But we're at that point now where when these things come up, I have to let you know, and we have to respond very quickly because those calendars will start rolling.
Okay.
I had one more. With that bill that we're going to kind of lock in the cost up to 2030. I know we already went over our TBTs, and if we went higher on that to account for those 4 years, can we go backwards?
Yes.
Okay.
You
So
can
if
always
we went
reduce your tax rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
It just limits you from going up.
You can't go up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can always reduce your
Caps
tax
it.
rate. Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Comments? I do. HB 2304, that's the transportation projects appropriations.
Yeah.
How's that functioning? Because it says that they're going to move some from the general fund over 473.5 million. Is that an application process?
That one's dead. It didn't make it.
Oh,
out of the House.
it did die.
That one didn't, or didn't make it out of the Senate, I guess. No, I guess
It said
did.
it passed.
It says it did. I think it's dead based on the call on Monday. I think that one has
Oh,
died
it may not go
because-
forward.
because on Monday they told us the only one that was still in play was for 2273.
Okay.
It's dead. Garrett just checked.
And what about HB 2588, the planned community design prohibition?
That one's still in play.
'Cause that would have an effect on,
It's dead. It's dead now too. Well, there's
Yes.
there's two. They're the same exact bill. One is a Senate bill and one is a House bill. The Senate bill is, oh, here it is. It's Senate Bill 1431. Put that one up. I think that one is the one that's still alive.
and that's in regards to
It's the
the,
design prohibition, et cetera.
okay.
Yeah, it's still alive. As a matter of fact, House Commerce met on it today.
Okay, and we don't
So
know what the
it's
update
still
on
alive.
that
I
was.
don't know the update, no.
Because that would have an impact on, the municipalities, correct? On the municipalities having a say over
Yes.
developments and developers and,
Yeah, I mean, it's multifaceted. One is cannot require an HOA, which
some people might not care about that.
Most cities don't, but some cities do. I mean, the real challenge that exists there is when you build a subdivision, most of us here live in a subdivision. You build streets and you put in the utilities, you put in the drainage, et cetera. You're not going to want our public works department maintaining the drainage ways in that subdivisions, the culverts, the drainage pipes, their park amenities. That's not something that cities do. So a lot of cities, including Maricopa, require an HOA to take those responsibilities. It's part of your HOA fees to maintain the dry wells in your retention areas and drainage culverts, et cetera. That bill, not only would it not allow the HOA, but it also wouldn't allow us to require walls in some cases. Sizing of infrastructure would be out of our control. if this council at some point wants to do a design review committee and design review standards like most cities have, that wouldn't be allowed anymore in terms of color palette or simple things like a builder could come in and have 3 models of house they're building in a subdivision. Most cities have a rule you can't build more than the same model, 2 of them. You could end up with a situation where you can't say that, so you end up with the same house, 25 of them in a row with the same elevation. That's what design review panels determine, is those types of things. Do we have that? No. Are we planning on having that at stage 1 here in our zoning code? No. But at some point, this council may want things like that for attractiveness and property values and those kind of things. It would really hinder us in that, from that perspective.
Because it also says architectural and aesthetic requirements.
Yeah.
It would be removed from the
Yeah, we wouldn't have
municipality,
any say in it.
and the developer would have the say in that,
That's
on
right.
what they want to put. So that's something to keep our ear to,
Yeah.
where that goes.
And that one's still alive. We had
Yeah.
a long talk about that bill the other day. Most all the cities and towns are fighting against that because they want to maintain local control. It's always number 1 on every municipality and county's list, is number 1 thing on our legislative, maintain local control. And that's an important thing. Control your own destiny.
Well, great. Keep your friendship with TJ going. We appreciate that. Any other comments or questions from the council on this presentation? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move to item number 8B, Human Resource Policy Manual. This is going to be a presentation by Jessica Silva from Pierce Coleman. This is an overview of the town's draft Human Resources Policy Manual, including its purpose, key policy topics, and anticipated timeline, and next steps for review and adoption. Okay, Jessica, take it away.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about personnel policies, why they're necessary, what their purpose is, and what belongs inside of them. I've also provided you with a draft of the policy that we created for your review and feedback. Hopefully you've all had a chance to look at that, and then I'll answer your questions and take your comments at the end so that we know what direction you want us to go with your policy. So one of the reasons that an employee manual is necessary is because it gives your managers and your employees a shared point of reference so that you can run your town before the problems arise. It gives you consistency, it gives you a code of compliance, and it builds trust with your staff. Employees know what to expect, and supervisors understand how to manage issues, because as you know, people are the most complicated part of any organization. They are also the greatest asset. So we want to make sure that we treat our people well and that they understand what their obligations are. So the purpose of a personnel manual is governance, right? It defines authority, employment terms, ethical standards, and what rules apply to those engaged in public service. It also serves as a form of communication. It explains how people get paid, what leaves they can expect, when they can go on vacation, how they can report and to whom they need to report, and what they should expect from each other and their supervisors. It also provides the town with risk control. It supports your onboarding, supervisor training, make sure that everyone knows what is and is not prohibited, and then it allows for cleaner policy updates. Because your personnel policy is a legislative document, it can only be updated with council approval. Typically, in Arizona, in your employee manual, you have the employment relationship. It talks about classification of employees, status, probationary employees, and the handbook disclaimer that says this handbook is not an employment contract. It talks about the town's ethics and public trust, equal employment, meaning that everyone is given an equal opportunity to become employed, and discrimination and harassment are prohibited. It talks about hours and pay, your 40-hour work week, those classifications that are exempt or non-exempt, meaning hourly or salaried, talks about overtime and that sort of thing. Your leave and benefits, vacation, sick time, accruals, holidays, performance and discipline, what employees can expect, when their performance is going to be reviewed, and if they were to step outside of the controls within the policy, how they will be disciplined and what their rights and obligations are with reference to appeals. Workplace operations, what they can and cannot use as far as technology, what they can, how they can use or not use town property, vehicles, posting on social media, and then separation, what happens when an employee leaves the town. So in Arizona, we don't want to overpromise in our employee manuals. You know, the more we give people, the more they want to take from us. And we try to keep that pretty small. So we always have an employment relationship language. It is in Arizona, it is a contract, right? Employees do have a right to their job. So there are terms and parameters in employment and how we treat them and the obligations that they need to perform. Wage, leave, notice, record keeping, because you are a public entity, all of the documents and all of your business practices are public record. So we need to make sure that we are on track with keeping track of all of that. Municipal ordinances may differ, so you may have different local rules regarding some of your employment practices that other jurisdictions may not have, right? Perhaps you're going to be on a 410 work schedule, or maybe it's 8 to 5, or maybe it's a 980. Cities and towns have different rules and hours of operations, and so we are able to make changes and be unique in that way. I mentioned public records. There is a retention schedule on what constitutes personnel records, what's kept in a personnel file, how long you need to keep those, and where leaves and benefits fall in relation to that as well. And then we have ethics and political activity, letting your employees know what they can and cannot engage in politically while at work. And then how to implement it as a living manual. The town council will approve it. We want to make sure that it is drafted in plain language so that not only does council understand it, but the employees who are reading it need to understand it because they need to know what's expected of them. Your attorneys review it to make sure that everything is legally sound, and then you train your employees on it. You train your supervisors first because inevitably employees are going to have questions, and the first person that they're going to ask is whoever's supervising their shift that day. When there are changes, we come to council, you make those approvals, and then you have to notify all of the employees what the changes are so that everyone can be up to speed and everyone knows what's going on and what's expected. I'm talking a little bit fast. If you need me to slow down, let me know.
Oh, you're fine.
We like fast.
Okay, all right, great.
Not too fast, though.
So basically, we just want to make sure that our employee manuals are fair, lawful, and consistent with public service, right? Because that's ultimately what we're doing is we're serving the public, and you want employees who want to do that well. So for the next steps, we have given you the draft for you to review and provide feedback and comment on. And then we will be back to you in April for adoption of the final policy so that when your employees do come on board in May, there are already parameters in place that they can refer to, and they know what's expected of them. So do you have any questions or comments
Questions, comments?
about the presentation or the policy that we've provided?
Mayor.
Yeah, Vice Mayor.
I have a few items I'd like to go through. First off, I just want to preface on the front end that really great work. 64 pages. I went through the whole document. There's a lot of things you have to consider as you're establishing a town of this magnitude and all the policies that we're bringing on employees. And so, you know, there were things that were coming up there that I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So I just appreciate how much thought went into it. How many things were considered from different angles, and I want to say that on the front end. One thing I do want to say though, just because I'm a little OCD, there are a number of structural or spacing and font issues and spelling and all that stuff. So I just want to point that out. Someone can just go through line by line on that. The next one I wanted to point out is the equal employment opportunity policy.
Yep.
As I was reviewing that, it basically says it is the policy of the town to consider all qualified applicants for available positions without regard to race, color, sex, gender, age, disability, veteran status. All that stuff's great. And then if you go down to point A on 1.7, It says the town is committed to, with this policy, to recruit, hire, upgrade, train, and promote all job classifications without regard to race, so on and so forth. But then down in point D, it says take affirmative action to ensure that all minority groups, individuals, women, veterans, qualified persons with a disability, and disabled veterans are not excluded from the workforce, and that these employees are encouraged to aspire for promotion and are considered as promotional opportunities arise, which I'm all good for all that. I just wanted to, I think there's a risk of misinterpretation of what D is trying to do.
Okay.
Particularly with the affirmative action language. And then I would just propose a change to some of that language, and I can give you a copy of this after, but I propose taking that last statement and changing it to say, take proactive steps to expand outreach, recruitment, and development opportunities to ensure that minority groups, individuals, women, veterans, and qualified individuals with disabilities are aware of and have equal access to employment and advancement opportunities. All employment decisions, including hiring and promotion, will remain based on job-related qualifications, merit, and business needs in accordance with the equal opportunity policy. And I think it could be very easy to see A and D counteracting one another. That can be the interpretation. I also think for the town, in a general sense, using language like affirmative action is a very politicized word, and what affirmative action means to one group of people means something to a different group of people. And so I think generally just speaking, maybe trying to avoid those type of words, but I understand the intent, and I just want to provide language that will kind of clarify the intent and make it a stronger position. So,
And absolutely, we can absolutely do that. We can swap out whatever we need to so that it communicates what council is intending.
Great.
We used standard language, but we're open to changing it. As long as it falls within our legal parameters, we can make it say whatever you want.
great. Yeah, no, I figured it was standard language, but I wanted to just make that clear in the document. The other thing I wanted to just offer up some suggestions for us to consider for our employees to make it a better situation working here. One of the things that it talked about is staff that deals with children specifically. And the one thing I want to suggest is maybe having some annual training for staff that deal with children and how to spot signs for child exploitation. I've been a part of organizations that have done that. And once I had done that type of training, I was just blown away. I was not aware of so many things. So I think any of our employees who are dealing with that, it would be good to have some sort of training. We'd have to go out and figure out what would be a really good program for employees to go through. I'm thinking when we have parks and recreation or dealing with children, I think that's gonna be really important. The second thing is I want to suggest us considering adding increased bereavement time, specifically if a employee loses a spouse or a child, that they get an automatic 10 days with management approval for an additional 10 if necessary. And then an option to extend with PTO and unpaid leave, and then employer paid counseling and grief support. I think it's really important, when you lose a spouse or a child, that we can provide ample space and time for our employees to deal with what they need to deal with. And then number 6, or the next thing I want to point to is there was some stuff about relocation, and that would be on the employees to pay for relocation if they were to get hired here.
Yes.
I think it would just be very hospitable for the town if we're going to have people move, that we maybe set a set amount of how much we would pay to help with moving costs, and maybe we set even higher amount if they move within the boundaries of Santan Valley specifically.
And this is something that you want in the legislative document? Or just as a general HR policy? Because so this is the legislative document. This basically says this is what we're going to do. And then you have administrative procedures, and that is basically up to Brent on how he administers it. We can certainly put those things in here. They can also live in some kind of administrative guideline. So it's entirely up to you what you want to include in this particular document.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever is the most applicable. These were just some ideas as I was going through it, that I had noticed some of the conversation points in this document that I felt like would just amplify some of that. And that's it. So.
Brent.
Excellent input. And how wonderful is it to go in and review the document and suggest changes and spend the time to do that and provide a solution. So thank you so much for that. One of the things that I heard there that really resonated with me was the comment regarding the training for folks that deal with children. And I will tell you, we went through a similar situation in Florence, but it had to do with children with special needs and autism. And we went out and found training, and we made sure that all the folks that dealt with children had that training, and it was tremendously successful and also was important to the community, because you don't realize how many folks live in your community that have some of those challenges. And so I've seen it be successful before, and I think that's wonderful input. The last thing I wanted to say is, I wanted to thank these ladies for their hard work, and also recognize Janet. She just started, and she spent multiple days going through this document, providing comments, going over it with me, going over it with Alan, and getting back to the team and producing this draft tonight. So I just want to recognize Janet for her hard work.
Thank you. Is there any other comments? Councilmember Wolford?
I work in HR. This is good. Very thorough, very comprehensive. You give everyone the day after Thanksgiving. God bless you. So, but I do agree. Pat took the language a little bit, but other than that, it's a very, very remarkable document, and I think the employees will be well served by the work that you've completed. So thank you.
I too worked in HR in my previous life. I did 19 and a half years in public service, and I just came on to Pierce Coleman a few months ago. But before that, I was HR for 5 years and then legal before that. So
And it's very sound.
thank you.
Yes, the Thanksgiving thing in my previous company that I worked with, we never had it as a time off, but we gave it as a time off. Black Friday, come on. So what council in April is this going to come to, the 1st or the 15th? That we could, as a council, give us time to review, and then we could submit these kind of things to you guys?
I would propose the 15th.
The
Give us some
15th?
time to look at this again, go through
Yeah.
it, and make some changes, and make sure that we bring you a product that you're proud of.
And so then I would tell the council and invite them to read and reread this document and give any suggestions. I would submit them to Brent and Janet, as like what Vice Mayor did here. I see his paper where he has everything kind of out. So that would be great probably for them to have to look at. Any other comments or questions regarding this document? Is that all you had?
That's all I have
You
to.
sure that's all you had?
You
'Cause
can ask me more questions.
I mean,
I can
there,
talk
there
about
was a lot
of
in
stuff.
here. So this document is great. Let me ask you this. How important is it to have something like this? What would be the town's risks for not having something like this?
You'd have a huge risk.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
I knew the answer. I just wanted to make sure we
You would
got
be
it out
very
there.
bad, Mr. Mayor.
This is an important document is what I'm saying. It's very important. If somebody wants to know something, what do? You tell them, well, what does the handbook say?
Yes.
And go look at the handbook. That is our guide. That is our direction. It needs to make sense, and it needs to be appropriate for everybody. You would agree with that, Janet. We need to give some thought to this and make sure that we have a good document here for the employees. Anything else? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And we'll look forward to having this on our April 15th council as something to vote on, correct? Okay. Okay. That will now take us to item number C. This is town council policy and procedures. This will be a presentation by Michelle Stinson with Pearson Coleman. Overview regarding the purpose, scope, and key policy issues involved in development of a town council policies and procedures, including ethics, meeting procedures, rules of order, council liaison roles, and next steps for drafting and adoption. We may have discussion that may follow. Okay. Michelle?
Fantastic. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Michelle Stinson with Pierce Coleman Town Attorney's Office as well. So before I dive into our policies and procedures, I kind of wanted to put you all at ease. I actually don't have the policies and procedures for you all to dig into tonight. So maybe that puts you at ease, but I'm also going to be asking for some actual feedback, and I've got my pen here. I'm ready to kind of be a facilitator tonight, a note taker, try and synthesize some of your thoughts. So, you guys have been doing some really tough work. I've even, gotten to see it tonight. You're thinking through all of these town codes. You are thinking through the personnel manual. These are big policy decisions. How do you want this town to run? This question that I have tonight is similar. It's a very similar question, but it's pointed to you, council. How do you want to govern yourselves, right? And so it's a little bit more of a personal question that I'm asking you all, and I want to know, how do you actually run? How do you actually run yourselves? So it's going to be a guiding principles, just like any of these frameworks that we've been talking about, but it's just a little bit different. So we went through and reviewed several different manuals from some of your sister cities. Also, Pierce Coleman, as the traveling attorneys, we spend a lot of time in council meetings. I get to see how these things run, so we can give you some feedback on how what needs to be included. But essentially, this manual is going to cover about 4 different areas. It's how do the meetings run, how the council members are going to interact with each other and with staff, and then ethics and legal guardrails, and then how does information flow. So that's the agenda, that's going to be committees, public participation, those kind of things. So you guys have been doing this for a little while now. You've kind of gotten into the groove of running a council meeting and generally how this works. You know that some of this is actually truly legal, right? You've heard from Alan with the open meeting law. You've heard on the conflict of interest. You know that we have actual legal guardrails that we have to stay within, just like Jessica was saying. But there is a lot of discretion in those legal guardrails. And so that's what we're coming here tonight to try and get a little bit of feedback from you. And then the next step is that we'll deliver a full council procedure manual. So how I have this set up is essentially these foundational decisions. So we're going to kind of talk through these 4 buckets: purpose and tone of the manual, ethics and conduct, meeting procedures and rules of order, and the council liaisons. So these are the fork in the roads. This is where if I can get some feedback from you guys tonight, then I should be able to come back here, work with staff, and deliver you all something that we can actually go line by line and get actual feedback on the wording and all of that stuff. So this foundational decision 1, the purpose and tone, this is a high level question for you. This is, how do you want this procedure to actually work? Is it going to be more of a guide of how meetings and governance operate? Or do you want to put foundational, in this foundational document, do you also want it to have a reflection of the values, of the expectations of council? So there are several different ways that we can go about. There are some policy manuals that are 60 to 80 pages long. They go through every single thing that you could possibly think through, right? And then there's a couple of them that are more in the 25 to 30 pages, and it really just has, you almost look at it as like you would be able to pick this up as a new council member and kind of read through it in one night and understand how a council meeting runs and what your role is as the policymakers of the town. So option 1, primarily procedural and operational. I've got some pros and cons on the slide there for you to see. Pros are, it's probably easier to apply. It's less political. Cons, a little bit more gray area. And then if we put some aspirational guidance in there, some pros, it's going to help establish norms for new council. But it can also be harder to enforce consistently when we have a lot of that language in there. And I did want to just kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about. So procedural a procedural way to say something would be, council members shall communicate direction to staff only through the town manager when acting in their official capacity, right? And then if I were to say it the other way, council members are encouraged to maintain a professional and respectful working relationship with town staff, recognizing the distinct roles of policy direction and administration. So you can kind of have some of your values actually written into the procedure manual in that way. We would also want to follow up with exactly what we mean by that. So that's how we get to 60 pages instead of 30 pages, right? So again, just kind of looking for your general feedback on this thought process. Very open to what you guys are thinking. And if I can frame the question for you, I suppose it's at a high level. If a new council member were to join you all tomorrow, would you want this manual to look more like a how-to guide, or would it be also a statement of all of your expectations and your values?
I frown on rigidity. I think we live in a time of incivility. I think this town is aspirational. We're reaching for a vision that rises above what we see in other communities. I am a firm believer in values-informed conduct. So this is an easy one for me. I do not want to lock our future council members into some type of manual. I would like for them to become inspired and then fill in the blanks with their best interpretation and the faith that the community has given in them. So.
I was gonna second what Rupert said there, but what risk does that give us on that side? So if we're not so rigid, what are the risks involved with that?
Well, ultimately, council, you govern yourself. So as long as we have clarity on how this how the framework actually works, then the values and all of that stuff, I think I agree, it can be very important, but I don't think it necessarily opens up. It doesn't open you up to more risk for having that. It's just a different way to do it.
It seems to me that one's a little more mechanical.
Sure.
And one's a little bit of mechanics, but a lot of opportunity and flexibility in the way we discuss and talk with our tone and purpose. Let me ask you this: how are we doing as you look at us from your point of view and perspective?
Well, so far it seems like you guys have managed to run a very smooth meeting, I must say. So yes, it sounds like, I mean, and I did get to spend some time with council. This is my first formal council meeting that I've been to, but the last time I was with most of you was at the community visioning meeting that we had. And, I really got to see the full community there and certainly got to kind of witness how that works. So I definitely agree that we certainly are sitting kind of at a inspirational and aspirational time. So.
Because we're new and there's a lot of growth and learning that we still have yet to do in the town. Alan, did you have something?
I would second that. From what we've observed, council's doing great. The town's doing great. And there's just a lot of camaraderie. Things are functioning well. We have seen councils in other areas where that's not the case. And in many ways, Santan is a bit of an outlier. And just kind of even just the feeling of the meetings. These policies are designed for this council, but also for the future to kind of memorialize perhaps the tone and the procedures that we currently have in place. So hopefully those will continue into the future for future councils. I think that's the thought process to help. Maybe this council is in a position where it doesn't need a lot of policies, but maybe in the future these policies can be helpful. So that's kind of the thought process.
Mayor, if I may chime in here. So I have a dilemma here. Like on one hand, it's like I feel two battles going on in me. On the one hand, it's like clarity is kindness. and I think it's really important to have clarity. On the other hand, I hate restrictive rules. So I have both of those things kind of competing. But to Alan's point, we've had people come to this council meeting who have said, wow, I go to other council meetings and it's toxic. They can't get anything moving right, and they're actively engaging in battle. So that's where I think the clarity could be really kind to the public and to the council. But on the other end, I think flexibility is important. Aspirational is very important. So for me, I would prefer, let's be really clear on the things that need to be clear and be flexible where it's not as important. That's just where I would say, I don't know how to direct which ones you need to be clear on or not. I think staff, you guys could probably figure that out.
And like I said, we're going to walk through, we'll have a very specific procedure manual for you all to review and react to the specifics, but yeah.
I just wanted to reiterate that I am more into the aspirational guidance. I just feel like we don't have much guidance right now as a council. And I think we all show a passion. And I think that's key, when they're out voting, you're looking at a person who will maintain that same integrity and character. As voters, that's the kind of way you want to go. And it's like, as far as myself, it's almost like it's common sense. You know what I mean? And you have a passion for it. So I like the aspirational aspect of it.
I just wanted to add that we can't be naive enough to assume that we're always going to agree, or that 5 years from now others won't. So the policies, I think sometimes if you're too specific, it increases your liability because somebody's not going to do something that specific way. But when you write policies to a theme or a principle, then you have some protection and liability, and a spirit of a law can be described well legally when it's general. So we want to frame something so disagreement can happen effectively.
Yeah, there's good debate and bad debate, and we have to have that nice balance of, well, we got to get through the purpose of what we're discussing about, staying on task, but having the opportunity to express, what we're feeling here, which makes it a unique and gives us the opportunity to understand one another and where we're coming from. Because if we all voted the same, only things would get done the way we vote or the way we think. So it's good to have diverse opportunities there. So yeah, sounds like option
one
two.
more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm uncomfortable with the overpraise because we're too naive to know how to disagree with each other effectively. I think for the most part we've agreed on most things, but we don't know how to do that effectively, appropriately, because I've never seen it. You see the ones on YouTube and they're horrible, right? I mean, but you can disagree and get things done, and we need that built into the procedure a little bit, what that looks like.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, yes, certainly leaning towards the second, making sure that we have clarity in our procedures. So this council and future councils know what is expected of them, but based off of more of a theme rather than, specific requirements. Okay, that is very helpful, because if you leave it up to the attorneys, that's probably not what you're going to get. So, there you
Sorry.
go.
We haven't gotten to the lawyer jokes yet.
So foundational decision 2 is our council ethics. Now, I just want to make sure that I say up front, there's no question that ethics is important, that it will be included. This is purely an organizational question, not some kind of moral question. It's truly a high level question of, we will have a code of ethics, and that will address your public trust, your fiduciary duties, your conflict of interest, the confidentiality. Like I said, a lot of these things are actual legal parameters, but some of the sister cities that we looked at have the ethics as a separate document. It lives separately from the council procedures, and then others integrate it into the document. So, some pros and cons of that. If it is a separate document, it might be easier to quickly reference, right? And it might be easier to quickly update if things change. Like I said, it's very aligned with state law. So if state law were to change, this would be something that we could easily change as well. And if it's integrated into it, it might be something that is more woven into more parts of the procedure document as well. So I think it just really comes down to, there's no right or wrong answer here. Again, legally, both approaches are very defensible. I think it just comes down to consistency and clarity and whether you would picture this to be kind of its own standalone thing or not.
What would be the more easily attained information? The separate document? That's what I was kind of getting from
Yeah,
the options here.
If I think about it, where do we access our documents? And they're on a website, right? We would be able to just link that one as a separate document. It might be more quickly accessible that way.
Where if it was included, you really have to dig through it
You might have
to
to.
kind of pull out those ethics, the codes, the information that you're looking for. Okay. Questions?
I say separate. And just because I think it's a co-equal document, not something to be buried in language. So in terms of importance.
Shoot, being on a council, how many documents do we have and have to look at anyways? And one more. Makes it more easy though. That's a little more defined.
It's probably going to be
I'm not against.
slimmer, right? It's not going to be as extensive. Probably going to be like a
So your
page.
code of ethics will probably be 1 to 2 pages is normally what we see.
Mhm.
Alan's like, we'll make it 3 to 5.
It's because of
I'm
me.
just kidding. So yeah, I can see it either way. But I think usually 3 to 5 pages is what it would be probably the same if it was integrated into the document. It really is just, whether we would be pulling it out into its own section or not.
What do you see as an overarching combination out in the municipal world?
This is one that I see it both ways.
Both
I don't
ways.
know. Do you,
No, I was just gonna say this may be an issue the council doesn't have a strong preference on,
Yeah.
right? Maybe this is one you say, hey, take your best shot at it and bring it back to us. And it's, yeah.
That might be something that if we see it and we look at it and we see that it's not so convoluted, maybe it's just one document. But if we see that, oh, I'm having a hard time trying to get through it and finding out the information I need, maybe that's where the 2 documents come in handy.
some of the risk of coming here without having a full anything for you to react to, and we're kind of talking in these, I understand that, but once you have something, it'll be much clearer what we're talking about.
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying not to go into too many specifics. I'm just trying to kind of
Get some
check in.
direction,
Yep. I'm
kind of
just
a
trying
feel.
to check in and kind of read you guys, and like I said, we will come back. So
Doesn't ARS have some additional already existing code of ethics for municipalities?
you do have, you do
This is
have
the-
by state law, you do have several requirements under state law,
Okay, this would be in addition to those.
right? And kind of fleshing that out. Yeah.
I'm kind of on the school of thought, keeping it all in one document, because I think most of this stuff that we're coming up with are going to be living documents to a certain extent, to where they can be amended as needed as we go. But I like the idea of having everything in one place.
Would the one single document, would identify the difference between the ethics and the council policies, or is it kind of intertwined?
Well, I mean, there are different ways that we could always format it too. Like, there was one that I saw that it was integrated into, it was like a appendix to the document. So, I mean, in that way, you could even have it as part of the document, link it, separately on your webpage if it was something that you wanted to be able to pull out. So, there's ways to technologically do the kinds of things that we're talking about as well. So,
Okay.
So I'm kind of getting some, feedback that maybe it makes sense to keep it separate, but there are some pulls to keeping it integrated. So we will come back with our best shot at that. Okay. Any other discussion on that one? Okay. So foundational decision number 3, this is your meeting procedures and your rules of order. So this is going to be how the council functions day to day, right? So not just motions and votes, but also the control of the agenda, participation, right? And how disagreements, if we ever have one, will eventually be managed, right? So I actually wanted to acknowledge something that came up recently. So Dana, our new town clerk, she has already jumped into this process. She's going to definitely, I can tell you're going to be a huge help on this, leading the way for this. But, so she's new to the town, but she has a ton of experience that she's bringing to us, thank goodness. And just the other day, there was a question about proclamations and how those should work, right? And, as we're starting off, it's not that overwhelming of a question because, we're not getting that many requests for proclamations yet. But as we move forward, you can see how there could eventually be disagreements among council if, something is more political or something like that. So, Dana was able to lay out a council a procedure very quickly that just kind of walked through how proclamations would work, right? So what are they? They're ceremonial, they're mayor-led, they're tightly scoped, and just defining those proclamations. So I just wanted to kind of give that as an example as what we're talking about here when we're talking about the procedures. And, like I said, that proclamation policy will be something that is eventually in this document. So the big question for council here is really the rules of order that we want to reference. Now, in our experience for town councils, we do not recommend that you adopt a parliamentary set of rules because that kind of creates issues where folks could challenge your actions if you did not follow the parliamentary rules to a letter. And the options that we have here are Robert's Rules of Order. That's the most widely known rules, generally what people are referencing. It is also 800 pages. So, Alan, have you read all of the Robert's Rules? Yeah, so that's how.
I believe.
So, there is some familiarity, at least in the name of Robert's Rules, I can tell you that. But, and of course, with all of those rules, you certainly can have precision. There is an exact way to do a motion and a reconsideration and all of those things. But I would have to pull out my cheat sheet for that one. But it can be very technical. This is essentially how Congress would run itself, right? It's not necessarily designed for a local meeting. And I kind of compare that to Rosenberg's rules. Rosenberg's rules it's a 7-page document. It was written by a judge who said, local governments and other smaller boards and organizations need a better way to be able to walk through these kind of things. So it has, I think tonight what we're doing, you all are kind of already following a Rosenberg's rules where, the chair or the mayor of the meeting is more responsible. I think that's kind of the con is that the mayor takes on the control of the meeting, whereas with Robert's rules, it is more member run, right? So those are kind of the two options that I have. Like I said, it would not be a full adoption either way. That would not be what we would recommend, but it would be something that we would look to as guides if there was ever something that tricky that came up. So any thoughts on the rules of order?
if I may.
Yeah.
The one thing that stands out to me is the con on the Roberts rules, very technical, can slow down meetings. I think it was said earlier, we like speed or like going fast. So, so I would say my preference would be to avoid the slow down meetings part, more of an informal. That's my thought.
I agree. I think the Roberts rules would be a nightmare.
Mhm.
I like what we're doing now with the Rosenberg rules.
Think option one means I'd have to use this more. So, I mean,
Is that a
if,
pro or a con
if
for
we're
you?
kind of, I mean, if we're kind of, from your perspective, doing option two, I don't know if that seems to run well with the council, the way that we're running it.
Yeah, but your point was we wouldn't say we're going to strictly adhere to Rosenberg. We would say we're going to lean on and utilize generally, right? That's the kind of language it would adopt.
That's correct, council
Yeah.
member. And you know what we're trying to do here when we sit at council table and we're trying to help you work through difficult motions. Usually my rule of thumb is I want to make sure that the record is clear. I want to make sure that Dana's minutes reflect what council wants the action to be, right? So Rosenberg gives us a little bit more flexibility to be able to get to that result more quickly.
Okay. Any other comments? I think it's pretty clear on the option there.
All
Or
right.
what to lean to, I should say.
So I just was gonna mention so for these meeting procedures, I mentioned the proclamation, but this is also going to touch on the presiding officer. You know, because we're going with Rosenberg, they're gonna have more of a role in facilitating the meeting. It's also this conversation, what we're hearing, it's going to also touch on the agenda structure. We've already set up a basic agenda structure, but that could change depending on how you guys want to go about this. Also, call to the public, right? That's the kind of things that we're thinking about. Different towns do it differently. Some have time limits. Some put it at the beginning of the meeting. Some put it at the end. So there's just different ways to do that. So that's all the types of things that you're going to see talked about in the procedures. Okay. All right. So final bucket here is our council liaisons. So this is basically how does the council want to, you know, this is regarding basically public council communications, right? I think there's three options. We can either have no council liaisons, right? And why would you do something like that? Well, it keeps you very safe from open meeting law issues, right? So I think that you guys probably have some familiarity with the open meeting law issues that we can run into with serial meetings and stuff like that. So even if I don't have, you know, a quorum of council members on a committee or acting as a liaison, there's always a possibility that as information gets passed along, we could create issues. But that also leaves you all with less ability to you know, go out and work on different committees throughout the community. So whether that is, you know, public agencies, you know, other agencies throughout the county and state, or if that's executive with Brent, you know, creating some other kind of committees that are more internal. But either way, pros and cons are essentially the same with the open meeting law risks. That's the main thing that we're looking at. I think option two is to allow for council liaisons in some of these committees, but make sure that we do it with parameters so that that our office would be involved in making sure that any committee or liaison that's being set up is just safe from open meeting law. So it's going to require a little bit more administrative time for something like that, but it does allow you guys to continue to engage in issues that are important, which is you know, part of your role here on town council. So, and then finally, option three would be to only allow these liaison committees to be formal council committees. So these are committees that are essentially set up by the council. And when they're set up by the council, a lot of times they are going to run strictly as open meetings like this, which means that the open meeting law we know will apply, which keeps us very safe from open meeting law issues, except for it also requires, as you guys know, it takes a lot to run a meeting like this. It requires setting up an agenda, getting it posted, making sure that it's available to the public, all of those things. And then we also have to make sure that that everyone is following open meeting law throughout. So that's one area that I just wanted to get a little bit more of your feedback before I started drafting. Do you all have any feedback for me on this one? Any thoughts?
Mayor, for me, option one, I don't like having no council liaisons at all. Where I have a hard time on 2 and 3 is I would have a personal preference that any committees we set up as a town, that they are agendized, that they do get posted, because I think it's really important for public transparency, for residents to be like, I served on the redevelopment commission in Gilbert, and I thought that was very helpful. Our meetings were even broadcasted, and it was helpful for members to be able to go see that. So I lean towards that, is trying to make sure we have an agenda for all of our groups. Now, the question I do have, you said that in option 2, you can serve as liaisons on any different boards and commissions beyond council led. So this could be some sort of committee somewhere else in the state.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say there is that sometimes you guys are going to be serving in capacity that, we would have to, that one we would not be able to agendize if you were
Right.
going
Yeah.
to.
I don't want that. That would be too much work.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Okay.
But we would have to, at that point, we would just have to make sure that we are very careful with limiting that there's, only 1 or 2 council members and that we're making sure that the information is only being shared, back to council in an open session like that.
So in that case, I'd be leaning to option 3.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that one?
Yeah, so in our current capacity, we have a committee already, IPAC. We have a representative, Councilmember Tyler, who has been designated as the liaison, I should say. Would that fall under option 2? That we kind of are.
Is it an outside? I don't know how
It's formally created by the council.
It's option 3.
It's
So
option
3.
3. It's agendized, packets are produced,
Okay.
fully notified, so it would be option 3.
Okay.
So we've already started down
Started
that
moving
path.
them that- yeah.
Option 3.
Yeah, I just wanted to get clarity on that. Sounds like that's where we're going.
So just to clarify then, sorry, Mayor, just
Yeah, go ahead.
another question. So in terms of council members interacting with outside bodies, that is done entirely on an informal basis then without consent from the council itself. Can you just kind of clarify what you mean? Is this a liaison within the council's directed committees, or are we talking about, again, outside of the town? Because I feel it's still a little bit kind of unclear.
So
You mean council liaison? Who are we liaising with?
Yeah. So sometimes you'll see that council members, generally how I see this set up is that you will make a formal, direction that someone will be, if FEMA was, for example, we needed someone to be regularly attending those meetings and bringing back that information, that's the kind of one of these types of committees. And so we would just, in the procedure manual, we would just lay out how you all wanted to appoint that kind of thing. And then there are truly like formal council committees. So I'm kind of tucking both of those things into it, where you're formally creating, a different board, or, whether it's going to be, if you guys are doing some kind of, I don't know, historical preservation or something like that, and you might create a board, and council might have a liaison on that board. And we would just want to make sure that we're very careful with the way that we set that up. So there's different ways to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. And we would touch on both of those things. Sorry.
So, I mean, I still feel like a little carve out for 2
Okay.
when needed. In the event there's external communications, external functions that require information gathering. So,
I agree with that. I think it should be a hybrid kind of approach. because they're the 2 and 3 are serving two different kind of purposes, I think.
And I've seen it in watching other council meetings where they've had a report from their council members who were over a committee. I'm assuming that was more of an option 3. I don't know for sure. And they would report back to the council on that committee or whatever they were over. I've seen that as an option too. And I'm assuming that would be more of a formal council. Is that what you would?
So the legal landscape has changed a little bit in these over the last couple of, like over the last year or so. There's been a couple of AG opinions that have changed this, and I think that's why this is a kind of at the top of our minds to try and make sure that we're very careful with this, just because the AG has made it a little bit more difficult. So they're not. So it used to be the way that we would say is like, it depends on how the committee was formed. Was it a formal action of council or something like that? The AG opinion changed that a little bit, where they're more looking at the totality of the circumstances in terms of, sorry to use like a legal word like that, but like they're essentially looking at how is the committee actually practicing in and is it essentially allowing council members to gather information and kind of create like a serial meeting issue where you guys would gather the information, be active decision makers in that committee, and then come back and act as active decision makers, which you can see if there were issues of like financial issues, right? If one committee was making a decision on spending town money and then we came back here and voted on that, it would almost be like voting on your own opinion or on action on that.
Yeah, I understand that one. That would probably be something
So that's the kinds of
should
things
be
that
out of that purview of the council as a whole.
we will keep you out of that kind of
Okay.
issue for sure. Okay, well then I'm hearing a little bit of a combo of the council liaisons with some clear limits, but also allowing for those formal committees as well, which it sounds like, as Alan said, you guys are already doing. So so that is really it. Those were the 4 big issues that I wanted to just get your feedback before bringing you Emmanuel. I'll be back here. I don't think that we have a date set yet for when we'll have it, but we'll make sure to get it to you guys ahead of time so you actually have the ability to read through it, and then we can have a more, detailed discussion going through each of these policies. So thank you very much for your time. Is there any other questions?
Questions from the council? Hearing none. Thank you.
Perfect.
Appreciate your presentation and taking our consideration of thought. Okay, well, that ends us on those items. We'll go to item number 9. This is a request for future agenda items. Members of the town council may request that items be placed on a future agenda, but no discussion or action will be taken at this time other than identifying topics for future consideration in accordance with Arizona open meeting law. Does any council member have any requests for a future agenda?
I'm going to repeat. I'm going to say this. I'm going to repeat the one I did in last meeting, every meeting until it shows up. So when we had the engineer from Pinal County, who's now our engineer, is that correct? The thing we heard from citizens most was widen streets. We asked questions of him about multiple developers and how the developers have financial responsibility only for the road. We said, can we slow it down? And I'm nervous that I would signal like we want to stop developers. I don't at all. But the message I got, and maybe I misunderstood it, is we really don't have any control over what developers do. Because I asked the question, can we slow them down? The answer is no. Can we stop it? No. Can we get funding from them to help widen the roads? No. I'm like, oh, well, citizens got no say. Now, I hope I'm wrong about all of those assumptions, but I would like more data on that because that's the question I get most from citizens. And I want to work on that. I think it's at the top of the list, and we're super busy getting employees and building policies, and that's great, and I love it. It's wonderful. But we got great people. I think we could start educating us enough to solve some problems, and what would that look like? And wide roading is directly related to lifestyle, to happiness, to safety. So I'm just, until we get greater education, and I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know what I'm asking for. Educate us, teach us, help us know what questions to ask.
We've already got the presentation.
Good, I'll repeat it every meeting until April 1st.
Basically, this is it. This is your last meeting. Any other council member have a future agenda?
I'd like to see possible exploration discussion of some type of advisory committee that takes advantage of the real diversity of neighborhoods that we have within Santan to help broaden our outreach, broaden our communication with the very remote and far corners of our big town. Just from walking through some of the neighborhoods, we are very, very unique. So just another way to add some more integration. So some type of more extensive advisory committee that perhaps dovetails with HOA boards or the like neighborhood representatives. But I just feel like we definitely need to expand our penetration into the town. So
That's a good one. Thank you, Councilmember Wolfert. Yes. Councilmember Hunt.
I would like to see or have an open discussion on the call to public, whether we have it at the beginning or at the end. There are some agenda items on occasion that I would like to hear from the public, get the public opinion prior to voting on it. I just wanted to know if we could open that up. I know that the county on times will have a call to public on certain agenda items for that specific item. But just be nice to have a discussion on that to see what would be a good course of action for us.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
On the committees, I'd like to also see a citizens budget committee. I think with us having to pass a budget, it's really important that we include the citizens in that process. And I think if we have leaders in our community who are well versed and get involved in that, I think it'd be very helpful as we communicate what our budget is doing and how effectively we're using taxpayer dollars in our budget.
Okay. This is a future agenda item I would like, but it might be more of this informational discussion on how soon can we get our packets, that we would have more time to be able to look through some of these presentations to give us more time than just say, the day or two before. Maybe, we can put that on the agenda and you can just give us information on how the process works, how you guys gather it, put it together with our input, other than just like the mayor and the vice mayor, having that agenda setting meeting. We can get that ahead of time, a little further out, a week out, if possible. Some of these, we're going to be up against some of these larger packets like the code. And that's going to take a lot of time and effort on our end to go through that. Look at the handbook that we were just looking at, for HR, and there's a lot in there, and Vice Mayor did a great job. So maybe we can put that on a future agenda item. Okay, any other council member?
I wanted to piggyback on Councilmember Oaks' a traffic study. I keep on getting questions about that as well. I asked the sheriff about possible red light cameras. It's a horrible problem out here, people running red lights. So maybe some study with red light cameras along with the traffic study.
I think you have got a record here. Every council member has said something on a future agenda. So good luck. Appreciate that. Any final comments on a future agenda item? Okay, hearing none, we're going to move on to the call to public. Open the call to public. This is the citizens desiring to speak on any issue within the jurisdiction of the town may do so at this time. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, subject to adjustment based on time constraints or meeting management needs at the direction of the mayor. All comments shall be addressed to the town council as a whole. At the conclusion of the call to the public, individual council members may respond to criticism made by those who have spoken, direct staff to review or follow up on matters, and/or request that a matter be placed on a future agenda. Arizona law prohibits any town resource, including staff time, equipment, and anything of value, to influence an election. This prohibition applies to the call to the public at the council meeting. You may discuss a town issue, but do not advocate for a specific candidate or ballot measure. I didn't get any comment cards. We have no comment cards today, so I will open this up to the public. If there's anyone in the public that wishes to speak, please do so and state your name and your residence or not in Santan Valley. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Grandpa Mayor, and congratulations. I do have a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. My name is Jeannie Stockton. I live in Johnson Ranch. I've been here since 2009. Number one, I was one of the founding members of the Santan Valley Advisory Council. And as part of that council, we had concerns brought to us regarding the battery plant up by Queen Creek. And at one point, they were going to create a committee that would be like an oversight committee to ensure that any disaster recovery or any evacuation plans were coordinated with the town of Santan Valley, because that plant actually is in Queen Creek and they have no requirements to include Santan Valley. So I didn't know if that was something you'd want to look at, is creating some kind of an overlook group. Number two, I know you guys are interim council members, but maybe in your policy and procedures manual going forward, that you require all council members to get a fingerprint card so that you can interface with children. It's a background check to make sure that you're not somebody that shouldn't be interacting with young kids. And number three, when you said something about the HOA communities, congressman or councilman. Oh, you just got promoted. He's a judge and you're now a congressman. Anyway. So the Santan Valley Advisory Committee, from what I understand, they have joined forces and doing some HOA involvement. And I talked to Kevin O'Reilly the other day, and you may want to reach out to him and see if that's something that their committee would want to get involved with. So thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Please come forward, state your name and that you're a resident or not of Santan Valley. 3 minutes.
So you were first again. My name's Karen Mooney and I do live in Santan Valley. Just a couple of comments. The PEN system, for those that don't have it, is amazing. Although it does go off at any hour when a child is missing. So if your cell phone is not muted in the middle of the night, it will go off at 4 o'clock and let you know. But I just think that is a very great tool to have. With the flood discussion that happened earlier, so we had floodplain changes that may be coming with these two entities that are looking into that. What is the cause? Chris, cover your ears. It was building things improperly. What happened? I brought up the problem I had in my community where single family homes across the way are not required. So that is something going forward when you go to address these things that you definitely need to look at. Is it one area has to do these things and then another area isn't? And is that what has eventually caused? We're at the base of the Santan Mountains, and so a lot of things are happening there that we collect the water, but it's not always redirected properly and floods other areas. So I just wanted to mention that. Congratulations to Mr. Wanamaker and to Santan Valley. I am so excited to have him on board. You guys did, that's amazing. Number 5 was rules of order. Will that be the same for the committees? We have just one right now, but bless you. Will the rules of order be the same for the IPAC committee? Councilmember Oaks, when he brought up his questions and concerns, I think that when a website gets started, there could be a FAQ section and concerns like that can start being updated and addressed. And I'm sorry, I don't remember who said, oh, Councilmember Oaks, Hunt, I believe you said, call to the public. I think it would be, I like it personally at the end because after presentations have been done, you can give great feedback. But on some items, yes, there are times I'm sitting on my hands and biting my tongue because I talk a lot and would love to be able to give some input on that. So I like that idea. And that's all I have for this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen. Is there anyone else in the public? Please come forward, name, and if you're a resident of Santan Valley or not.
Hi, I wasn't planning on speaking. My name is April. I am Robert's wife. So first of all, I would like to say thank you to the chaplain. That was an absolutely beautiful prayer. Second, I think that you are all doing an incredible job to build the town of Santan Valley, and being able to be here and witness everything and have a better understanding myself as a citizen is truly a gift. And to watch all of you be so kind and respectful to one another and thoughtful is very inspiring. And I just want to say thank you for that. And of course, my husband and I talk about everything. And I'm always like, oh, you should tell them this and that and the other thing. So I'm going to say one thing. And if we do bring business into this area, I think it could or should be Wegmans. It's something more from the Northeast. It's an incredible store. It's a lot like Sprouts. They're very supportive of local farmers and different things. And I just think it would be a huge benefit to bring something like that into this area that is not at all in this region of the United States. Thank you.
What was the name of that?
Wegmans.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Is there any other member of the public that would like to come forward? Any at all? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment section. And this is going to move us to item number 11. This is an executive session. The town council may vote to convene into executive session for the following items. This is A, item 11A, discussion and consultation with town attorney on negotiations of potential intergovernmental agreements with Pinal County for continuation of various services pursuant to ARS 38-431.03 A3 and 4. Is there a motion to go into exec session?
I motion that we move to executive session.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are in exec session.
Job on those microphones.